Welcome everybody, it's Saturday the 4th of July and this is a Tilt webinar with Paul Rain. I'm Helen Myers, I'm chair of the London branch of ALL and I'm really happy to be hosting this series of webinars. It's mainly Joe Dale though who has put all of this together, and Joe Dale, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to, Helen. Thank you so much. So welcome everybody to our Tilt webinar on this lovely Saturday morning, although Paul is in Japan, so he's speaking to us from the future. So for him, it's evening time. And yeah, we're very much looking forward to this session. So I'm an independent languages consultant, and I normally spend my time going around the world running training on the use of technology and languages. But of course, during lockdown, I can't do that. So instead, I'm making a living through webinars. I've just put in the chat a list of 18 example sessions if you'd be interested in asking me to do some webinars for your department. Or I'm going to be starting up some webinars as well where you can individually sign up as well. They could be done for remote teaching or a blended approach. I know we've been told we're all going back in September, but I'm sure there's going to be remote ideas there as well that I can support with, or just if you want to learn about new tools that you can use in the classroom as well. So I'm here to help you, and I've just put the messages in the chat there. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you. We also make mention always of Linguoscope, who've been very supportive of our webinars and also run rather more non-tech webinars, which are brilliant. And we also say thank you to Heiko, who's helped us set everything up, Heiko Phil. ALL, I say this every time, if you're a member of the Association for Language Learning, it's particularly for teachers. I know that Paul is a particular teacher of English, but he's going to be talking about things which we can use. But if you're a member of ALL, please write down in the chat now and tell people who aren't ALL that they should join. And what better reason to join than the fact that, yes, we're all nice people and you get a lovely glossy magazine and it's lovely to be part of a community, but also it's 10% discount if you use this code, webinar10. That offer runs until the 30th of September. So please do join us. It's been great that lots of people have joined us over the past 4 months. There's going to be a link to all of everything that happens today, but also you can see all of the other webinars. And by the end of July, we'll have done 40 webinars since lockdown. So you've got links to all of those by going onto there. Coming soon, we've got Emma Ferris, who's on Monday, going to be doing book widgets. We've got Claire Wilson, and that sounds great. She's got loads of ideas about interactivity, but also ways of community. She's obviously running a community on Instagram. So that's great that we got her.
Are you still with us, Helen? Okay, no, can everyone hear me okay, still? Okay, I think Helen maybe has lost their internet connection. I'll just carry on, that's absolutely fine. So as you can see, we've got, on Monday, we've got Emma Ferris talking about book widgets. On July the 9th, we've got Claire Wilson. I think Helen's left us, right, okay. And I can't see her screen anymore. Anyway, we've got lots of things coming up. We've got Graham Stanley as well, who's going to be talking about sort of a digital storytelling activity around a treasure island, which sounds really cool. For that, we will need, I think it's 5 Hispanists. So if you're a Hispanist and you'd like to be a guinea pig as part of the webinar, everyone else can then just watch. You're muted, Helen, don't worry. You're muted, Helen.
At one point, I was saying something, and then I noticed that you were all very, very still.
I was just mentioning the other webinars that are coming up, so that's all fine. And then we have Melissa Gould-Drakely on the 25th, if I remember correctly. Let me just double check. Yes, on the 25th of July, we have Melissa Gould-Drakely, who is a very important person from Australia, who is essentially the languages lead for the whole of New South Wales for the Department of Education. And she's going to be giving some advice around coming back in September or having like a blended approach to language learning. She did a webinar for language teachers in New South Wales recently, I think it was a month ago, and nearly 400 people from Australia turned up. But it's very important to say that that particular webinar will not be recorded. So officially she's not allowed to record it, but it will be, you'll be able to watch on Zoom, and so that's absolutely fine. But I would encourage you to book early, because I'm sure that, particularly if lots of Australian teachers want to come along to that, that it will get booked up very soon. So that will be announced. It's not on the AWL website yet, but it will be very soon once Melissa has sent me through all the information and I've passed it on to Helen. So that one will not be recorded. All the others are normally recorded, but she's been officially told that that cannot be recorded, that one. And I think those are all the sessions that we've got. Oh no, on the 21st of July, we also have Michelle Laroche from Shoeburyness High School talking about Seneca learning, which I'm very excited to see about. And on the 16th of July, we have Carmen Scoggins from the US, and that will also, no, that'll be sort of normal time.
I have done that one. That is ready. Sorry.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Carmen is on the
so
16th of July,
yeah.
and she again is going to give us some advice about getting ready for September. And she's also a lovely lady. She is the past president of SCOLT, which is the Southern Conference of Language Teachers, I think it stands for. And I've met her face to face when I've been to the States, and she's amazing. So lots and lots of things to look forward to. And also we have Sophia Mavridi, who is a lecturer at Leicester de Montfort University, and also the person in charge of the learning technology special interest group at IATEFL. And she's going to be talking about, again, getting ready for September. So lots of really cool things to look forward to, some very practical and some sort of big picture overview ideas. So lots to look forward to before we get to the break.
Well, and thank you, Joe. It's just been brilliant. It really has. This lovely community that you have, and you're sharing all of your contacts and friends with us as well. It's great, really good. This slide you've seen already. It's just to reinforce the fact that we're professional and kind here about everything. We don't criticize anybody or anything. Very happy to host speakers and participants free of charge. Speakers and participants are responsible for what they say. So now, Joe, over to you then to introduce Paul to us.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much, Helen. So I came across Paul via Twitter, and Paul followed me on Twitter. I followed him back, as normally happens. I had a look at his what was called EFL Digital at the time, and then we connected via Zoom. We had a very long Zoom chat of about 2 or 3 hours, I seem to remember, all about the website, and I suggested ways in which he could tweak it in order to make it more sort of MFL friendly, and that's exactly what he's done. And I'm very excited to for Paul to show us the website today. What he's particularly looking for, I think I'm right in saying, Paul, is lots of feedback. So please get the feedback running in the chat. Lots of questions about what you like about it, what could be done to improve it. There is a good sort of free offer for this. It's not, there's no sort of commercial pitch or anything like that. Paul is a university lecturer in Japan, which we'll talk more about in a moment. And he's essentially, my understanding is, he's essentially designed this tool initially for EFL teachers, but with some tweaking, I think it's absolutely appropriate for MFL teachers as well. And there's lots of ideas, particularly around speaking, which I know is a very hot topic at the moment, considering the Ofqual consultation and the government's decision about speaking for this year's GCSE. So please do have the questions running. I will, if you could put a queue in front of the questions as per normal. But if you have a question that's sort of burning, I'll ask Paul there and then, if that's okay. I've sort of checked that with Paul already. So so that's it. I think without further ado, I'll ask Paul to share his screen. So Helen, if you could, that's lovely. If you could share your screen, Paul, give us an introduction, and then we can have a good deep dive into your website and see how it can be used in our own context. Thanks ever so much, Paul, for doing this.
Thank you, Joe, for the introduction. Yes, my name is Paul Rain. I've been living in Japan for the past 15 years and teaching English here in Japan. I've been involved in educational technology for around about 5 or 10 years. I started developing my own websites in Japan for my students and then for teachers. And it kind of developed into the current project that I'm going to show you today, which was formerly known as EFL Digital, but I wanted to reflect the fact that it also can be used with other languages. So it's now called teachertools.digital. So the address that you want to be looking at, if you want to follow along for today's presentation, is teachertools.digital. There's no www and there's no .com. All the .coms are gone, so it's digital. I think the slide that Joe showed you already covered my kind of bio. So I want to move straight on to the introducing the site to everyone. Let me just bring up the chat so I can see what people are saying. So I understand, I think quite a few people in the audience do teach English as a foreign language, and there's other languages as well. I just wanted to know which languages everyone is teaching. So if you could just type the language that you're teaching in the chat, just so I get a general idea of what you're teaching.
Paul, for you to see the chat, you need to hover up in the toolbar at the top, and then you'll see when someone puts a chat message in that it goes orange. If you click on that, you can then see the chat, but it can be a bit difficult when you're sharing the screen.
I've got it. Thank you. I've got it on my screen now.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can see. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna give a general overview of the site. It's a platform. teachertools.digital is a platform for creating, administering a range of different language teaching and testing assignments, which cover all 4 skills of speaking, listening, reading, and writing. It is compatible with smartphones, tablets, desktops, and laptops. It runs on all modern browsers. So if your school is still using Microsoft Internet Explorer, please could you strongly advise them to upgrade. Even Microsoft now is recommending not to use Microsoft Internet Explorer. So it's not compatible with Internet Explorer. So that's just one point. I think in Japan, people think of Japan as quite a high-tech, advanced country, but the education sector is quite conservative, and there's quite a few hits I can see on my screen still coming in from IE. So, please be wary of that. You need a Google or a Microsoft account to actually register with the site. The reason for this is that it actually increases the security, and it's much easier for logging in. You don't need to remember another password. My site never sees your password, and there's a kind of a variety of advantages to doing it that way. When you make an assignment, a link is generated, which you pass to students, so that there is no student login with this site at all. That's intentional. I have gone down the route before of actually making an LMS, but once you start going down that road, you have to deal with students unable to log in, students forgetting their passwords, students having problems, those kind of problems. So they can be avoided by simply having the teachers log in, and the students paste a link when they want to submit an assignment, which you provide to them. And in order to distribute the links to your students, you can post it to your LMS. You can send in an email. You can put in a Zoom chat. I'm teaching on Zoom right now because we are also my universities that I teach at right now have implemented a distance teaching policy. So what I do is I just put the link into the Zoom chat, and then students can just click on it, and they can submit the assignment immediately within the Zoom session. So I want to go over some of the, I want to go over all of the main assignment types for the platform currently offers. So the first assignment type is audio recording. This allows you to create a prompt, which could be an image prompt, it could be an audio prompt, it could be a PDF, it could be, I think I've covered the main ones, the video. And then students record a response, and that response goes into your, that response is recorded on your account, and then you can easily access the responses of the audio recording. If you choose to require an email address, let me just log in 1 second here. So I'm signing in with Google. So I was already signed in. If you choose to require an email address, which you can do, oops. You can do on the settings page. So you go to your name here, you go to account, and then you click on require student email. That will requires students to input their email address when they submit an assignment. And if you do that, then they will, you'll be able to send them feedback by email for the audio recording assignment types, for the video recording assignment types, and also for the, which one is it? Written reports. So there is a way to send
Sorry,
feedback.
Paul. So we just had a question in the chat. So David has asked, I may have missed this, but if there's no student login, how do we know how, so how do we know who has uploaded or, sorry, how do we know how, okay, I think the English is not quite right there, but I presume it means, how do we know who has uploaded the content? That's because of their name, isn't it? I think what he's actually written, I may have missed this, but if there's no student login, how do we know how has uploaded or not the work? But I presume it means how do we know who has uploaded?
I'm going to go through this in a bit more detail in a moment. But yes, basically, there are two ways you can do it. When you set up your account, okay, let me give an overview of the assignments, and then I'll go on to how I'll answer that question in a minute. So there's audio recording. Multiple choice quiz is a bit like a Google Forms. Anyone who's used Google Forms, you can create a question with the correct answer, and then there'll be 3 or 4 incorrect answers. Also sometimes known as distractors, and then the student has to click the correct answer. One of the differences with my version is that you can do it as a listening task. So you can actually, the students listen to the options and then they check the correct option. And that can be done in English, French, German, or Spanish. There's a read aloud assignment type, which uses voice recognition to check whether students have correctly pronounced a range of sentences that you specify. This is only available currently in English, but I am working on adding this in Spanish, French, and German as well. Text gap fill, for anyone familiar with like a close test, it allows you to paste the text and then remove a selection of words, and then the students have to read the text and input the words. So they have to understand to some extent the grammar in the text to be able to fill in the blanks. This is sometimes called fill in the blanks, sometimes called gap fill, sometimes called a close test, close with a Z, not an S. Text to test allows you to paste any text and then it will generate a test for you, and it creates vocabulary questions and grammar questions automatically. Video gap fill allows you to use any subtitled YouTube video as an activity on the site. So it has to be subtitled in the language that you want to teach. So there are obviously millions of English subtitle videos. There are probably slightly fewer Spanish, French, and German ones, but I have found some. But that's kind of the teacher's job, is to find the appropriate video to use for that task. We do have, there is a library function, which I'll show you, which I'm trying to fill out right now with kind of recommended videos and pre-made templates that you can just click on and you can just duplicate for your own needs. Video recording is similar to the audio recording, except for the fact that it's video, and obviously if you're doing a speaking test, you want to see if the student's making eye contact, they're using appropriate gestures, and whether they are, whether it's actually the student speaking and not somebody else. And a written report allows you to set a writing task. And again, all of these assignment types can have a variety of media attached to it. Could be PDF, audio, video, image, text, etc. You do have to have permission from whoever owns that media, or you have to own it yourself before you can upload it to the site. And you can download the results of all the assignments in a spreadsheet format. The audio obviously is downloaded audio files, video files, and text files. And that allows you to easily insert the grades into your gradebook. So I'm going to give a quick demo of each of the tasks now. I'll start with audio recording. This one, I added an image to help the students activate their schematas. That's kind of a TEFL-y kind of buzzword. Basically get them thinking about the topic before they even read the question. And the question is, who is your best friend? Describe this person and say why he or she is your best friend. This is actually a TOEFL question, test of English as a foreign language. And I have a bank of TOEFL questions on the site. I would like actually help to gather some appropriate, maybe GCSE level questions for French, German, and Spanish. I don't really have those right now. So if anyone in the audience can provide that or give me a link to that kind of information, I would appreciate that. Students record their answer directly in the browser. And one thing you have to be careful with is that you have to give permission to access the microphone. So when I click on the record button, I'm not sure if you can see this, but a little window pops up and asks you to use your microphone. This window looks slightly different on every browser. So, you know, if your students are using Firefox, Chrome, or perhaps Safari on a mobile phone, you need to make sure that they click on allow to allow access to the microphone. One thing you have to be aware of is that sometimes students use their browser within another app. For example, if you post the link to Facebook and then they open it from the Facebook app on the phone, that will open in the Facebook kind of embedded browser. And that does not give a very good experience in terms of the latest technology that browsers have. The student needs to be using a standalone browser to be able to use the microphone-based activities. So I click on allow. My best friend is called Bob. He lives in Japan. He is 30 years old. I have known him for a long time. Click on stop. And immediately my recording appears here. I can check it. Let me just turn off my, actually, I don't think I'm sharing my sound with you right now. So the sound should come through my webcam. So I just click on play here. My best friend is called Bob. He lives in Japan. He is 30 years old. I have known him for a long time. Did everyone hear that okay?
Yeah, so we could hear that, but when you clicked on share, did you click share computer sound?
I didn't, so I think that would create
do you want to click on
echo.
new share? Can you click new share in the toolbar?
But if I do that, it will come through the webcam and the computer and it might sound a bit echoey. We can try.
Well, that's what we normally do. Could you just try?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You click new share. While you're doing that as well, we have had a really good question, which was, can you download student work as separate documents or files as well as the results?
You can indeed, and I'll hopefully have time to show you that function in a bit later. Yeah.
Perfect.
Let me play this again. This should now be coming through the audio. There might be an echo because it might come through the webcam. Let's just see what happens. My best friend is called Bob. He lives in Japan. He is 30 years old. Is that better or worse?
Yeah, much better. Much
okay,
better.
Great.
Thank you.
Students can re-record if they make a mistake or they did not set up the permission correctly. So my best friend is called Bob. He lives in Japan and he is 30 years old. Question about evaluating intonation. This does not do any kind of speech recognition. So you would need to listen to the recording and evaluate the intonation yourself. Later on, I'm going to show you an activity called Read Aloud, which actually performs speech recognition on the student speech. And that will evaluate whether it's comprehensible enough for the computer to know what they're saying or not. I click on submit and I put in my name. So we have the question about how do you know who's submitted? This is where you get the student information from. Now you can either only require the name, or you can require a name and an ID number, or you can require a name and an ID number and an email address. So depending on how much information you need, you have 3 different kind of combinations that you can specify. You can also add a list of students to the folder. So on the site, you create folders. I generally create 1 folder for every class I teach. And then you can add a list of students to the folder. And then this screen just shows a drop-down list with the students' names. And then they just check their name from the list. And hopefully I can show you that a bit later.
We've got a great question from Amelie, Paul, if that's okay. She'd like to know where the servers for the students' recordings are uploaded to. Are they in Japan, or are they in the UK, or are they in the EU from a GDPR point of view?
Yeah, of course. They're actually located in Japan right now. I can add servers. I'm using Amazon on the back end, so I can add servers in pretty much any location. If that is a kind of a deal breaker for your school, please let me know, and we can work together to solve that issue.
Yeah, I think for European teachers it will be. Yeah, I think from a GDPR point of view, that if they know that the recordings are not stored within the EU, I think that will definitely be an issue. I mean, feel free in the chat to say whether you agree with me or not, but I would imagine that would be an issue. Okay,
so I think eventually, or sooner rather than later, on the admin accounts, on the account settings page, I would have to add an option to say where you want to store your data. So that could be done. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple of people have said in the chat, yes, it is an issue. So yeah, if that's something you could look at, that'd be amazing.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Let me go back to. Oh, I don't think, did I actually submit that recording? I don't think I did. My best friend is called Bob. Let's make it a short one. The submission is usually quite quick because it's going directly from your browser to Amazon to the server, so it shouldn't be much delay on the actual submission. And then I can confirm my submission just by clicking on play again. My best friend is called Bob. And that has now gone into the teacher's folder, which I will show you. So I need to log out. Just have to stop sharing for 1 second. I need to log out into my other Google account. Yep. Might be a good chance to field other questions while I just.
Yes, I have got. I've got my Google Doc open, which means I can then see other questions. Let me just bring up. Here we are. Right. Oh yeah. Okay. So this is more of a suggestion. An idea for development, though this may be covered later, so no need to ask now. Although I am anyway. The main advantage of an LMS is the security aspect for a secondary school. No teacher is working solo. Managers can monitor or protect what is happening. So however this develops, the ideal would be to allow a school subscription, I think. So that's just something to think about. That's just a comment. The school subscription would be sending the data back to the LMS. Does that speaker mean? I presume so. The speaker, that's actually Helen, who's now left the building. But I would, yeah, I can check with Helen exactly what she means. But from the monitoring point of view of having a record of everything, presumably is that from a security point of view from the secondary school. I think that's what she's suggesting there. But I can ask her to clarify later. That's fine.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I have looked into integrating with LMSs before. Unfortunately for me as a solo developer, there are so many of them. There's Moodle, there's Blackboard, there's Canvas, there's Schoology. You know, there's a 10 or 20 LMSs in common usage, and I couldn't support them all. And getting data back into the LMS is actually not a trivial task. So if she means, getting the data back into the LMS, that would be difficult. If she means kind of just pasting the links to the LMS or embedding the activities in the LMS, that can be done.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Okay. I think it should be good to share again now. 1 second. Yeah, I understand that the data storage kind of questions are a major factor for most teachers. I mean, in my situation, I'm a part-time teacher. I work at various institutions. Every institution has its own kind of antiquated and idiosyncratic LMS, which is not really fit for purpose. One of my institutions has one, I think it was last updated in 1997. I'm trying to, this is the problem with innovation, because you can be innovative, but you run up against kind of institutional policies that are quite draconian in some cases. Other cases they're very sensible, but some policies can be draconian and kind of prohibitive. So it's finding the kind of compromise between how to provide a solution, but also meet the policies of the institution.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Is everyone seeing my screen again?
Yep, all good. Do you want to make it full screen maybe, because we can see your desktop? Yeah, there we are. There we are. Great.
Let me log in. So I'm going to show you where that assignment has been submitted to.
So just to clarify we've got a question from Amelie about embedding. So she's written, I was going to suggest that it would be great if it could be embedded. With the lockdown, we're on the lookout for recording tools, for instance, that can be accessed asynchronously by the student, so that you could embed, you couldn't embed the exercise though, could you? You could only, what could you actually embed, Paul? Could you clarify?
Yeah, sorry, you can embed the exercise. You can't get the result back into your LMS. So the result will be stored on the servers run by Teacher Tools Digital. But in terms of embedding the actual activity, yes, you can. If you click on the blue button here for the configuration of the activity, you'll see that there's a link to get the embed code. And then you would copy that and paste it into your LMS.
Wow, okay, so you could, wow, okay, so you could embed that exercise into your LMS, and then the students could all then record their audio with a picture that you've then defined for them, and then all the results will then appear in your account, presumably.
That's correct, yes. Yep.
Wow, that's very useful, thank you.
Right, yeah. So some institutions may have disabled embedding, so you'd have to talk to the person in charge of the LMS, maybe. When I first started out, actually, I was told that even if I developed a plugin for Moodle, it wouldn't be allowed to be used in my school. So that's part of the reason why I went off on my own and was like, well, I'll make my own platform, you know. So yeah, but you need to get permission, perhaps, depending on the rules of your school. I'm quite stubborn, so. So I'm going to show you, so this is the audio recording that I submitted, and you can see on the right side, 1 out of 100. So on the premium account, you have 100 submissions. On the free account, there's 35 submissions limit. If you click on that, you can turn submissions off, so that will, you know, deactivate that assignment or back on again. I can click on view here, and I'll see in my inbox, there is the audio file. And if I have several audio recordings, I'll be able to scroll through the list and listen to each one in turn. My best friend is called Bob. I can delete this. If I have taken the student's email address, there'll be a little feedback icon here that I can send a comment, or I can send corrections to the student. We can also switch on a transcript for this. I don't have time to go into that much detail. I want to cover every assignment, so I'm wary of the time. How long do we have left?
So it's absolutely fine. I mean, if we go to say 20 past the hour, that's absolutely fine, or a little bit longer if you prefer. I mean, people can leave when they want to, which is always the case in Tilt webinars, and everything will be recorded. So you're more than happy. You know, you could do another 40 minutes, a bit longer if you prefer. I think what people would like to see is just a real, you know, breakdown of the different activity types. David just asked a question, 35 submissions per group or for the teacher's account? Could you maybe just clarify that? Because that's really important in relation to what you can get for free, as it were.
Can I go over the differences between the free and the premium?
Of course, yeah, good idea.
Okay. All right, so let me just log out 1 second. Okay, so this project actually started off completely free, but I have costs, and the time that I put into this project is just completely off the scale, basically. Tens of thousands of hours. But you know, so I need to recoup those costs. I'm not going to be a hard sell in this presentation. So you know, feel free to evaluate the platform on the free accounts. There are 10 assignments. You can create 10 total assignments. If you delete one, you can create another one. So it's 10. It's not 10 and then stop. It's like, you know, maximum of 10 at any one time. You have 35 submissions for each assignment. So if you have, you know, 30 students in a class, then they should all be able to submit a response. I've been reliably informed that this is a pretty good number. I don't think many people have more than 35 in a class. Would that be correct?
Feel free to write in the chat if you have more than 35 students in your class.
And at that point, you know, you might want to think about upgrading. You get 50 megabytes of uploads. This is the actual materials that you're adding to the site, not the student recordings. That's not limited. That's limited by the number of submissions, not by megabytes. So If you want to upload your own images, your own audio, 50 megabytes is the limit. You get 10 folders, 10 assignments, and then you don't get these other features on the free account, but you do on the premium account. Okay?
Helen asked the question: can you archive the assignments and have 10 live at any time? Is that possible?
You can download the answers to the assignments, and it will give you, if it's an audio file, all of the audio files will be in the download as a zip. If it's a video, all the videos will be in the download. If it's a text, if it's a written report, all the text files. Any of the other assignments simply generate a score, and the score will be in a spreadsheet, and the student names will be on the left side, and the student names will be in the first column, and the score will be in the second column. So I recommend downloading and then deleting the assignment.
I see.
That's
great. Is that okay if I just answer a few, because I can see that people are getting very excited about this. So Isabella's written, can students resubmit an assignment without it being counted as an additional assignment, which might then exceed the 35 max limit?
Yeah, I mean, you can delete a submission at any time. So if you decide that that student didn't submit correctly, or you want to give them a second chance, you can allow them to resubmit. You can delete the submission. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
So let me go back to the list of assignments. So there's a lot more you can do with audio, but I won't have time to cover the other assignments. So hopefully I'll come back to that later. But let me go on to the next one. So multi-choice quizzes. Let me go to show you. I have a multilingual folder here. Here's one I made earlier. Anyone remember Blue Peter? Absolutely.
I'm sure one or two could have in the chat would be able to remember Blue Peter, don't they?
Is it still running in the UK? Has it finished?
Well, I think so. I don't know. I'm not sure. All right. Helen's saying you're showing your age now, guys. Okay, with 3 exclamation marks. Okay, there we are. At least you haven't mentioned sticky back plastic. Anyway, right, okay.
I'm curious as to what the average age of the audience is, because like in my context, it's kind of like 40 or 50 years old, I'd say, is the average. I'm actually quite young. I'm 38. So,
okay.
But in this audience, I might be actually quite old. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know if we can ask people that. Anyway, let's crack on. Let's crack on with the
back on task.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So I'm going to show you the multi-choice quiz. I've made a French, German, and Spanish option here. So this is for the MFL teachers now. So I'm going to go onto the French one. Click on preview. Earlier on, I actually looked on a GCSE French website and found some appropriate phrases. Please forgive me if any of these are not level appropriate, or maybe, God forbid, contain incorrect French, but you can tell me if that's the case. You can see that the text is blanked out here, so it's a listening activity. And if I click on the speaker, it should read the prompt, and then it will read the 4 options and allow the student to choose the correct answer. So here we go.
Ça va? Je m'appelle Céline. Je vais sortir avec des amis. J'ai 20 ans.
Pas trop mal.
So yeah, and then students have to choose the correct option, which I remember was the last one. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you can add as many questions as you like to this, and the text-to-speech is generated automatically. So let me show you how to set that up. Let me go to that folder.
Can you slow down or speed up the text-to-speech if you want to?
Yes, you can actually, but I don't have that option on this assignment right now. I do have it on the other ones, but okay. I will be adding, hopefully, to add that at some point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Create a new activity. So could some people give me some French a question, an answer, and then some incorrect answers in the chat, and I'll paste them into this activity.
Right. I can do this, but feel free if you want to do this. Those people listening.
Okay, so that could be the question.
So should we just, okay. So we've gone for quelle est votre matière préférée. Let's go for some possible answers. Here we go.
And what would be the best response to that?
a school subject. So Amélie has written les maths spelt correctly as well as an incorrect spelling.
Okay.
So the correct answer is the second option, LES space MATHS.
Okay.
And then an incorrect option would be, say, the top one, MATTS.
And I mean, if it's based on spelling, probably you want to do it as a reading activity rather than a listening activity, and we can do that. I can put that in there, and then we can create a second question as maybe a listening activity. So you can do reading or listening on a per question basis. So let's go on to the second question and maybe have a different one which depends on pronunciation rather than spelling.
Sure. Okay. So should we go for quel âge as-tu? How old are you?
Okay. Is that in the chat somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Got it. Oops. I think I remember learning that in my GCSE class.
Okay. And then we could go for the classic j'ai 12 ans or je suis 12 ans.
Can you type it in the chat?
Yeah. So for the accents, you don't have like a multilingual keyboard by any chance?
I think you just have to use whatever your OS provides. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. Right. So for the answer, if you got it in the chat, you could either write j'ai
12 ans.
Yeah, j'ai 12 ans would be the correct answer. Yeah, and then the incorrect answer would be je suis 12 ans.
Je suis.
Which is a classic year 7 mistake.
Okay. Je suis 12 ans. Okay. And we'll make that into a speaking activity. Make sure French is selected there.
Yeah.
Click on text to speech. It should generate the audio. And then I'm going to save this. Fingers crossed this works. And click on that. This is the preview icon now. Clicking this link will give you the link to, we'll copy the link to the clipboard. This allows you to add directly to Google Classroom. So anyone who's using Google Classroom, if you go to your account panel and you give permission to connect, we can post this directly to Google Classroom. This shows a QR. Many students in Japan, have a QR reader on their phone, so they just point at the screen and then they can do it on their phone with a QR code. I'm going to show the preview activity. I'll copy the link and I'll put it in the chat so anyone who wants to try this can try it. And I'll also show you on my screen as well. There we go, and we can see the first question there. The correct answer was number 1, and number 2.
Quel âge as-tu?
J'ai 12 ans. Je suis 12 ans.
And you can see it actually has a variety of voices as well. So if you have like 10 different options, there won't be 10 different voices, but I think French has about 5 voices, and it will just cycle through the voices and give a different voice to every option. So students are exposed to kind of a wider variety of accents.
Cool. It's really very cool. There's nothing like this.
J'ai 12 ans.
Yeah.
Je suis 12 ans.
So j'ai 12 ans, the first one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And click on submit and put my name. And this one, I should see the results immediately. Okay, there's a small bug here. This actually should be showing the results with a checker across, and I apologize for that. I'll have to fix it. But this will actually show the student what the answer was with a checker across, so that needs to be fixed. I apologize for that.
No problem, it's fine.
Yep.
It's fine.
That's a multiple choice quiz. I actually use this for evaluating whether a student has read a text. So I will add a PDF to the quiz, which you can do quite easily by uploading it. If I go back to list, 1 second, new multiple choice quiz, new. And here, this is where you can attach media. You can attach audio, video, image, or PDF, or you can even embed an iframe. So if you want to embed a SoundCloud file or something like that, you can use that option there. PDF is this one, and then you click upload, and then you would choose the file, and it would add the file here. So that's a good way to evaluate if students have understood a text. Again, you have to be careful that you have permission to actually to do that. So yeah, please be mindful of that. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next activity. 1 second. Next one is read aloud. This one only works currently in English. So this is for the EFL teachers. I'm currently working on adding Spanish, French, and German. Those language models are still being produced, so we don't have reliable models yet. Actually, if you go to Mozilla, I think it's Mozilla Open Speech or something like that. I'll have to find the link later, but there's a link, there's a Mozilla link that you can actually record your voice, and then that will help them to speed up the generation of these models for the other languages. I'll try and provide that later. Anyway, so I made this activity. It's preloaded with some famous movie quotes, and I'm not affiliated with Star Wars in any way, so this is just for illustrative purposes. This image actually is from Pixabay, which is a very good place to find Creative Commons copyright-free images. So I'm trusting Pixabay, you know, that was a Creative Commons image. So the student listens to the sentence and then tries to repeat. So I'll demonstrate.
May the force be with you.
And then I click microphone and say the same thing. May the force be with you. Okay, didn't quite pick up the. Let me try again. May the force be with you. There we go. So this means that it's correctly recognized every word. So I pronounced it well enough for the computer to know what I was trying to say, basically. If you want more kind of detailed feedback than that, there are other tools available which tell you, break down the phonetics and tell you how far off you were. This tool doesn't do that at the moment. It's just, was the word correctly pronounced or not? Let me show you again. If I only pronounce the first part, the second half will be marked red. So, may the force. There we go. You see, I didn't pronounce be with you, so that's not recognized. We can go on to the next one. I'm the king of the world. Life is like a box of chocolates. There we go. Okay. And then when I get to the end, I should be able to submit. So if I just skip to the last question, the submit button will appear. Click on submit, click on my name, type my name, enter. This does not actually submit the audio recordings. They are kind of discarded. It only submits the results of the activity. So this allows you to check whether a student can correctly pronounce a phrase without having to listen to it yourself. You can just input up to 10 sentences and then, allow the computer to judge whether or not it was pronounced correctly.
Does it work on intonation as well, Paul? Because Amelie's asked, does it catch on intonation or just pronunciation?
It's quite forgiving, I would say. I mean, like in Japan, students sometimes speak with katakana English, where they add a vowel sound to every word. So like, it'll be, I am the king of the world, like that. And it might recognize that. I'm not going to try and...
No, it's fine.
Impersonate. I have done that in the past. Basically, my answer to that is try it with your students and see. Because I can't say how it will respond to different accents and stuff.
Fine.
It's trained on native speaker speech, so it's looking for people who sound like native speakers of English. So in that sense, it is prescriptive, and like students have to speak students should speak a certain way. I don't know about, it's actually an interesting question. I don't know about other people's in Japan, there's a debate about, should people speaking with, when you're speaking a foreign language, should the person listening to you make the extra effort to understand your bad pronunciation, or your, not bad pronunciation, but your non-native pronunciation, or should you try to conform to native norms? That's a kind of very controversial and kind of prickly debate. What about other people?
Well, for the GCSE, it's supposed to be a sympathetic listener. I think is the official word. So as long as you are comprehensible, then that's okay. There's a question in the chat from Jessica. I use software for speech recognition, Dragon Dictation, and one on Microsoft Word. They can recognize sounds from the TV. Would this happen with this system?
I use software speech recognition. They recognize sounds from TV. If you mean like the student is just kind of playing a TV clip rather than speaking themselves?
I presume that's what it is. I presume it's like if you were to say, hello, Google, then if you had like a mobile phone, it could then kick into, I presume that's what Jessica means by that.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, if, for one thing, it's only recording when the button has been clicked. So yeah, it's like it's a 10-second gap when the student is speaking, and then it switches off.
Yeah.
If the student was kind of devious and they kind of found, Luke Skywalker saying "May the Force be with you" and then played that to the computer, it might recognize it. I haven't done extensive tests.
Yeah, but the sort of student that would do that would find a way of, anyway. Yeah, that's right. Let's. I think this is brilliant. If you could make that, work for French, German, Spanish, language teachers would absolutely love you, I think.
As I said, I'm hoping to add that as soon as the data is available.
Cool.
So, yeah. But yeah, that kind of deviousness is we can't really. It's kind of assumes the student is doing the activity in good faith.
Right.
I'd say.
Was the link voice.mozilla.org by any chance?
It could be. Did you manage to find it?
Amelie has put that link in the chat. voice.mozilla.org/en. Let's see if that's the one.
Yes, Common Voice. Yeah,
lovely.
Yeah. But it says to donate your voice, and this will actually help them to. I'm not actually sure whether they have a Spanish and German French one, but the default one is English. I assume they're also collecting for Spanish, German, and French. So please check it out and let me know.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go on to the next activity, which is text gap fill. Text gap fill. Oh, I already made some pre-made ones. Text gap fill allows you to paste any text and then remove a selection of words. So here's an example. This is in French. And all the text you're hearing is generated by speech synthesis. So.
Le week-end, en général, je sors avec mes amis.
Is that the correct spelling? I assume it is.
Yeah, but there's accented, acute accent on both E's.
Okay. I'm not sure when I pasted the text whether it had accent, but maybe I'll leave it as it is and see if it marks it wrong. Yeah,
that's fine.
See.
Le week-end dernier, nous sommes allés au restaurant et au cinéma.
I chose English words, or words that we use in English.
Yeah.
Nous avons vu un film d'action. C'était super.
Is that right?
Nous avons is AVONS.
Okay.
ONS. Yeah, and then with cinema, also on the E is an acute E, but it's fine. We can just see how it's working.
Yeah, we'll see if it marks it wrong.
Yeah.
J'ai bavardé avec mes amis et on s'est bien amusé. J'ai bavardé avec mes amis.
Yeah, I couldn't hear that. I'm just gonna put.
Bavardi, BAVARDE, acute E on the end.
Okay,
that's it. Yeah.
How do you write that on a Mac?
Good question. If you hold down your finger on the E key, then the numbers will come up, and then you tap the number 2.
Number 2. There we go.
There you go.
Right. Let's see if it marks it correct with the accent.
Yeah.
It should do, because it's comparing the text exactly. So it should mark it wrong if the accent is not there. Let's see. Yeah, it does.
There we are.
So I guess that would people want that as an option? I mean, because in Japan sometimes we say it doesn't matter if the word is spelled exactly the same as long as the student kind of roughly knew how to spell it. I mean, is that something that would be good to have as an option? Do you think?
So Emily said yes. I would imagine that teachers would want it to be perfect. In other words, it won't. If it's, for example, j'ai bavard, that would be seen as incorrect. It would have to be j'ai bavardé. I presume. Feel free to disagree, but I would have thought that's what people would want.
So the way it behaves right now is good.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Anna Laura said absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. Let me show you another example with the German for that one. And let me show you how to create one of these tests. So,
thank you.
Hide floating. So what I generally do is I use a lot of articles from Wikipedia, which is a very good source of free text. Let's try a Spanish one. Does anyone have a topic they would like to try?
What about the environment?
How do you type that in Spanish?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Environment. Can anyone help me? The environment in Spanish?
Spanish teacher has a topic that they've been using with the students recently.
Okay, medio ambiente. Medio ambiente. So MEDIO space AMBIENTE. Yeah. My A-level Spanish was a long time ago now. Yeah.
Medio ambiente natural.
There we are.
Let me just copy, see the first paragraph, up to here. Then go to my folder. Click on text gap fill, create new. Paste the text in here. Paste the title in here. Maybe attach some media in this case, and this one I'd probably maybe want to use Pixabay maybe. I'm actually hoping to integrate this into the site eventually, so you'll just have, you can just search for the images directly in here, but for the time being.
That would be wonderful, yeah, if that's possible.
Oops. It's a pretty good conceptual image there. Oh yeah, it doesn't work with that. You have to actually download it from the link, don't you, I think. Click on free download. There we go. Small one. Okay, back to here, click on image, upload, go to my file there, click open. And that's now been added to the assignment. Now I go to the Word section, click on, sometimes Wikipedia includes these little kind of footnotes, so I have to remove those. Is that correct now? Yep.
Yeah, it looks okay, yeah.
I'll stop. Go to remove words. This is where you choose the voice. So actually, you could read Spanish text in English, but we have Spanish voices. So we've got Conchita, Lucia, and Enrique. So I'll go for Enrique. And then if you actually put a space between each line that you want to be a separate kind of question. So like that, like that. Yeah, that should do it. And then click on the words you want to remove. Make sure you check the text-to-speech option for the ones that you want to be speech. So I'll make the first two this one and this one. And then you can check the voice.
El medio ambiente. Medio ambiente o entorno natural abarca todos los seres vivos y no vivos que interaccionan naturalmente, lo que significa que en este caso no es artificial.
Somebody asked about slowing down the voice and stuff, so yeah, you can do that actually on this activity and hopefully the other one soon. If I click on reset voice, I can alter the speed, maybe down to 90%. Try again.
I'll just mute myself with my phone. Hang on.
El medio ambiente. Medio ambiente o entorno natural abarca todos los seres vivos y no vivos que interaccionan naturalmente, lo que significa que en este caso no es artificial.
Let's go take it down a bit more. I don't think it's hard to notice the difference.
El término se aplica con mayor frecuencia a la Tierra o algunas partes de la Tierra.
Yeah, so you can hear that's quite a bit slower. It only goes down to 80%. I mean, we can make it more than that, but it kind of becomes incomprehensible, like past 80%. So that's about as slow as you want it to be.
Otherwise, it sounds drunk. Is that right?
Yeah, it makes it actually harder to understand.
Okay.
So the other way you can slow it down more is to add a word pause, which will affect the pronunciation because the words are not. What's that phrase? When words are linked together, what's the kind of linguistics phrase for that?
Is it passing?
Passing or blending or something? Yeah, something like that. So
elision. Elision, maybe?
Elision, yeah. It's not, the words are not elided correctly. So
Okay.
if you just be aware of that, will affect the pronunciation a little bit. But you can turn the word pause on, and then it will pause between each word.
El término se aplica con mayor frecuencia a la Tierra o algunas partes de la Tierra.
Yeah, like that. Okay, and put it on for this one as well. Let's go to detailed feedback. I have the answer mode on type, so students have to type the answer. You could also have it on select as well, so that there'll be a drop-down list of answers that they can actually select from. I'll leave it on type because I have audio on. Generally, if I have audio, I have students type the answer because it's too easy with a select with audio. Mm-hmm. So click on save.
It'd be nice to know in the chat what people think of this particular activity, because again, I don't know of another site that does this sort of thing with text to speech in that way. So it'd be lovely to hear people's feedback.
Mm. And there we go. File is there.
El medio ambiente o entorno natural abarca todos los seres vivos y no vivos que interaccionan naturalmente, lo que significa que en este caso no es artificial.
I actually have a chance of getting the answers right when it's this slow. I probably got that one wrong, I think, but let's see how I did. Go to the submit button. There we go. I managed to get 2 correct. All right, so that's right. Text close. Yep. Let me go on to the next activity.
So Anna Laura said, great tool for independent learning. And she's impressed, which is lovely. Me too. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, the students do have to be given a link, so they can't just go to the site themselves and start studying. That's something that I'm considering adding in the future. In the past, I have made a site like that. So there are advantages to just saying, oh, to your students, just go to this site, study, and then give me your score at the end of the semester. But that's not what this site does. This requires the teacher to actually make an assignment in order for students to submit it.
Okay. Bella's asked a question. I'm not exactly sure what she said. Add-on read and write does text to speech in languages, but as a support. That's not good English, Bella. Can you clarify what you mean? I'm not sure. And Helen's written, I like the listening option. It's very creative and can be aligned with students' individual research projects at A-level too. Yeah, good point. Jessica said, what would happen if you were a bit cheeky and used Google to identify the words?
Again, I mean, it's hard to deal with those kind of students, especially with the emergency remote teaching. You don't know that their parents could be helping them, their friends could be helping them. I mean, there's a whole range of things that we can't control. In the classroom, I mean, you could do this in test conditions, and I've done it in the computer room before. So if you really want to ensure that it is them answering from their own brain, then you'd have to do it in test conditions in a core lab or something like that.
Right. Bella's clarify what you mean. So it's the read and write add-on. Do you know the read and write add-on? It's like to help students with their reading. She was wondering if that could be used as a support. I think that's right in saying
I personally am not familiar with that.
Okay, so yeah, you might want to have a look at read and write for Chrome. I think it's called read and write. If you have a look for it, it's a Chrome extension. Yeah,
it is. Right. It is kind of a perennial issue. If you are using tech to teach or assess your students, you have to expect them to try and use tech to answer those assessments. It's kind of like a whack-a-mole. Like there's a solution, and then a student finds a devious way to overcome, and then another solution to prevent that kind of cheating, and then another way to cheat. So there's no kind of final word on that, really.
Sure, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the next activity, which is these activities work on all devices, so that they're cross-device compatible. The speech synthesis, the speech recognition, all of that works on any device. They obviously have to have the latest version of the browser installed. On iPhone, on iOS, they have to be using Safari. Google Chrome does not work properly with most of these activities, so they have to be using Safari on iPhone. On Android, Google Chrome will work. The reason for that is that Google Chrome on iOS is basically Safari in a kind of wrapper, but it's kind of like it's a limited version of Safari. I'm getting into the weeds.
No, that's fine. Let's crack on with the next activity, if that's okay. And yeah. if you want to do like another 20 minutes or whatever, I'm more than happy to stay here for as long as you want. Yeah, and if people need to leave, that's fine. But I think it's really nice to get all this feedback and to drill down into the different activities. So thank you so much, Paul.
I'd like to cover as much as I can. So let's carry on. Yeah. But to cut a long story short, please use Safari on iOS and Google Chrome on Android, Firefox, Chrome, or Safari on desktop. Or Microsoft Edge, the latest version. Okay, so text to test. Now, this will convert any text into an interactive vocabulary and grammar test. Let me show you how this works. Click on it. I input a text about Mars. I added a picture of Mars, and then I generated some text-to-speech.
Mars is the 4th planet from the Sun in the solar system. It is the 2nd smallest solid planet. Mars is a cold terrestrial planet with polar ice caps of frozen water and carbon dioxide. It has the largest volcano in the solar system, and some very large impact craters. Mars is named after the mythological Roman god of war. Space probes such as the Viking program landers are the main tools for the exploration of Mars.
Go to the next page, and then it will show me the definitions of the words that I've chosen to define. And then it requires me to select the correct answers. And then it requires me to reorder the sentences. Click on submit. And it's marked my answers there. Let me show you a couple of multilingual versions of this. One for French. Let me paste the link in the chat so you guys can try this out.
Thank you.
So this is the one for the French activity. This is the one for German. And this is the one for Spanish. And while you guys are trying those out, I'll show you on my computer as well. Preview.
Le week-end, en général, je sors avec mes amis. Le week-end dernier, nous sommes allés au restaurant et au cinéma.
This text I kind of copied from a GCSE level French text. And then I can also do the definitions. The words can be in French, definitions are in English. I love this, plongée sous-marine. I love that word. I love that kind of direct translation.
Mm. But you could turn that on if you could turn that off if you wanted to. Is that right? The tool tip.
Yep. Let me show you how to create one of these activities.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So this is the German one. I pasted the text in here. Okay, let me show you from the beginning what it looks like. So I find a text I want to use, I paste it in here, I click on process. This then goes away and searches the text examines the word in the text. At the top here, I actually have to select German from the list. So I can either use English, Spanish, German, or French as the source text. So I select German, click on process, and this will scan the text for known vocabulary. Then I have a list of vocabulary here. I can choose the ones I want to test. So I just check the ones I want to test. And then I can, if I want, sometimes the definition isn't exactly what I want it to say, or it's a little difficult, or perhaps there's an adjective and a verb form that I only want to have the adjective form. So this is where the teacher has to come in and kind of curate the list of vocabulary. So I'm going to choose a stressig, verstehe, understand, and wechseln, changing. Can someone confirm that those definitions are correct?
I'm not a Germanist personally, but I'm sure there's a Germanist in the chat.
Anyone in the chat can confirm that those are good definitions? Yeah.
Okay, Helen said yeah.
Alles gut. All right. So stressing. Okay, and then so this is a conversation that Joe and I had actually, and I'd like to get people's feedback. Is it a good idea to have German to German? Like the definition will be given in German for a German word, or for your students, is it always better to have the English definition?
Let's see what people write. Helen said vexing to change or changing. Is that because it? Oh, is it a spelling mistake? Oh, so instead of, is it SELN? Is that right? Is that what you're saying? Oh no, so that's me. Okay, gotcha.
I think it was missing. The definition only had changing.
Right.
So I added change/changing. So this is where you can kind of really
it's
kind
definitive.
of.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So it should be to change. Yeah.
Right. I see.
Is changing wrong? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, you have to kind of curate these a little bit, but it does save a lot of time because it gives you, it's a huge time saver in general. I would say, rather than having to write them yourself.
So Bella's suggesting if she could choose whether she was teaching foundation or higher level, because I think this is what I thought when I first saw this, that this is particularly good for GCSE, and you could use it for A level as well, I think, but for GCSE practice, if you could give them the option. If you could give teachers the option to either choose the German or the target language definition or the English definition, then people could then differentiate.
Okay. I think because the dictionary data that I have available, of course, would be designed for native speakers of German probably. So it might not be the best. You really want to have a simple German definition, which isn't more difficult than the word it defines.
Yeah, definitely.
And finding that data is quite difficult. So yeah, again, if anyone has any leads on that they could let me know in the chat. That would be good. And then the grammar, you select the sentences that you want to include in the test. And then Joe asked about hiding the definitions. If you have a text-to-speech option enabled, and then you click on hide text. That will actually do it as a listening activity, and the vocabulary check section won't be shown. The vocabulary will still be tested, but it won't be shown with the tooltip. Yeah. So
okay.
Click on wait, and I'll show you what that looks like.
Ich besuche das Gymnasium und ich bin in der Klasse 11. Es gibt viel Druck und es kann stressig sein. Ich bekomme meistens gute Noten, aber im Physik verstehe ich manchmal kein Wort. Ich sollte fleißiger im Physik arbeiten.
Next. I remember that. Stressig, verstehe, and so, this one I'm gonna get stuck on. I know the first word has to be uppercase, so that's helping me a little bit. I apologize for butchering your language. Submit. There we go. Okay, so you can easily create a listening test, a vocabulary test, a grammar test, reading test from any text in less than 1 or 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. It'd be lovely to know in the chat what people think of this, or suggestions for Paul or how it could be improved. But presumably, if you had a German definition, if the teacher felt that it was too detailed, they could always change it, couldn't they? They could edit it and change it and dumb it down a bit, or what have you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Video gap fill now. This one allows you to get to use any subtitle video from YouTube as a listening test. So I have some examples. Oops. Here's some I made earlier, video gap fill. I found this one is a German job interview. This one is a Spanish listening for beginners, and my unpopular opinions in French. I basically just on YouTube, I just basically searched for a couple of keywords. So I'll show you what I searched for.
While that's coming up, Paul, Helen's asked, can you store assignments in Google Classroom or Drive and return to it the following year, thus leaving the 10 assignments option open? I think that's what you mean, Helen, is that right? Yeah.
You cannot store the assignments in Google Drive. You can. The assignments will always be on teachertools.digital. That's where they live. You can paste a link to Google Classroom. I'm not sure what Helen means by store the assignment. You can store the results of the assignments. The assignments themselves are interactive, and they depend on the Teacher Tools code to run. So there's no way to store them outside of the platform.
Right, but you can embed them in Google Classroom, but they'd still be on the teachertools.digital website. That's right, isn't it?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And actually, with Google Classroom, I don't think you can embed. You can only link. But on Moodle, Moodle and Blackboard and things like that, you can embed.
Yeah. So Sean has just asked about 35 tasks. So it's 35 submissions. E.g., if you have up to 35 students in your class, each child can have one assignment each, and it's 10 tasks, isn't it? It's 10. 10 assignments you can do. 35 submissions, isn't it? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
right. It's 35. Yeah, you get 10 assignments for the free account, and then you get 35 submissions per assignment.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So to find suitable video on YouTube, for example, I just typed in a French video with French subtitles. You have to be careful because some of them might have English subtitles. Songs will be fine. As long as they are on YouTube and they have subtitles. Do you have an example you'd like me to try?
It'd be wonderful if the MFL Twitterati could collect some examples of songs, multilingual songs with subtitles. That would be great.
Is that the name of a song? Yisult?
Oh, that's a singer, apparently. There we are.
Right. So I'm going to search for Yisult. And if I click on filter, and then features, go down to subtitles/CC, I click on that, it will filter my results down by the songs that actually have subtitles. But you have to then go into the video and check whether the subtitles are actually in French, because they could be in English. And most of the time, when there's a French language video on YouTube, it has English subtitles because it's to try to translate it for English viewers. So if we look at this, and click on CC, it looks like actually they are in French. So that's good. Let's see, French. And if I copy this link, is she actually singing? Yeah, she is. It looks like the singing part is not subtitled, right. But let me see if I can bring up the speaking part for that video.
Helen's recommending also that you try youtube.fr as well, which presumably that.
I didn't think of that. That's a great idea. It's probably going to have every single video will be in French. That's actually a much better idea. Thank you. All right, let me go to youtube.fr, and then if I search for the assault. I've still got my recommended videos on there. youtube.fr. It's redirecting to .com.
Ah, interesting.
Is that does that do it for you too?
Yeah.
Helen? Or
I don't know. Should we all try ourselves? See if we can. Let's see if it does. No, it's doing the same thing for me as well.
Change the language option. Yeah.
Okay.
Je pense que j'avais besoin de.
Okay, she's speaking in this one, but I wanted to give an example of how it works. So, new activity. paste the link in here. I actually have a list of recommended channels here, and these are all for English videos. So if anyone has a channel which has a good selection of subtitled videos in French, German, or Spanish, please could you let me know? That would be good. I can add it here. Click on there.
Cool. So Helen's saying click in advanced options and change the language option. I don't know if that means in Google or if in YouTube, Helen. I'm not sure, but I think we can explore that ourselves. I'm sure.
Yeah. One thing I did there, I made a little mistake. My subtitle was set to English, and I put in this video, and it said no captions. So if you change the subtitle language to French for a French video, then it will work. There we go. And then 1, 2, 3. Detail feedback. Click save. And copy the link. I'll paste this in the chat. People can have a go. And then preview.
Elle est partie, elle est frappée. Elle est partie, elle est frappée. Elle est partie, elle est frappée. Elle est partie, elle est frappée.
No, you're right. Frappé with an R, not an L. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's right.
ER at the end.
Yeah.
Is that she's saying I'm a rapper?
No, she's saying she left frappé. It means to hit, so she left to hit them. Elle est partie les frapper. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, she left to hit them.
Elle est partie les frapper.
Okay.
Salut, moi c'est Isolde, artiste chanteuse et mannequin. Salut, moi c'est Isolde.
Students can listen as many times as they want to hear the speaking. I don't have actually drop down select on this one, and the reason is that it's always going to be listening. So unless the words in the drop down are very similar, I think it's probably going to be too easy. I'm not sure if people have a different opinion on that, but
no, I think you're right.
Yeah, probably leave this with just typing for the time being. And let me submit the answer.
So we've got another question in the chat, Paul. Is it something that could be considered to let you archive assignments? This way, if you have spent some time finding a text and making sure you're happy with definitions and all the settings, etc., for example, you can return to use this at a later date without having to go through all the same process again. This would be very helpful for cutting down on workload.
Yes, let me show you some of the kind of useful functions we have for that. So in my case, if I had an assignment I'd used before, let's have a look. You can duplicate an assignment. So if you want to say move a different selection of words, you can duplicate it. You can move it to another folder. You can also copy it to another folder as well, and you can export it, and that allows you to share it with another teacher. So if you give one of your colleagues this code and they then go to import an assignment, they should be able to import the assignment that you've made. The other thing you can do when you create an assignment is you can add it to the public library. When you click on any of these assignment types, you get two options. One is to create new, and one is to choose a template. If you click on choose a template, this has a list of assignments that other teachers have made and have agreed that will be publicly available for other teachers to use. So when you click on this page, you can preview the assignment. You can click on use. That will then copy that assignment into your account, and then you can edit it, and you can that then belongs to you, and the submissions will only go to you. So the template can be made public, but the actual assignment itself and all of the attached submissions remain private.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Let me go back to about page. I think I'm getting toward the end of the assignment list now. The next is a video gap fill. A video recording. So again, this works in a similar way to the audio. The student has to accept the permission to access the camera And then we have the camera here. This actually works. It seems to work when students are on Zoom. So you can have a Zoom session going and then ask them to record a video at the same time. At least it works for me. Let me try it now. I disagree. I think snakes are good pets because they could help you to keep your house clear of mice. Just check my answer. I disagree. I think snakes are good pets because they could help you to keep your house clear of mice. And then submit. Okay, should go to my inbox. I disagree. There we go. And if I go to my folder for that assignment, video recording, one submission, view, and it's there. There's a question, can I have a saved folder of my own templates? The way I do it, okay, let me just show a quick example. Okay. I'm gonna log in with a free account. I would urge you though to support the site if you do find it useful. I got a lot of questions about how to avoid signing up for the premium. I understand that, but it's only me behind this site. We don't have a multi-million-dollar runway to burn through, and there are costs. So if you do find the site useful, please consider supporting the site. But I do want you to use it as well. So let me show you how to do that. It's because the government cut all the teachers' pensions, right?
Well, I think lots of state schools don't have any money, but I think I'm sure people will want to use the premium versions as well. Absolutely, you've made a really fantastic website, Paul.
Yeah, I'm kind of taking a gamble, like teachers will be willing to pay for something like this, but I honestly at this stage I don't know. I'm just hoping that people will find it useful. And yeah,
sure.
Anyway, so this is a free account. So I've made 10 folders. My limit of folders here. So if I had, what I would do is maybe I have one folder as my templates. So this would be my templates folder. Let me rename this. Oops. And okay. And then the other folders I'll probably have as my classes. So I would have, this one could be year 7. Oops. Sorry. My son's just peeking his head in the door. Year 7 French, and then the other folder could be this one. What other kind of classes people teach? Maybe A-level, French. Yeah, I understand, Helen. I totally understand. Yeah, I understand the budgetary constraints and everything. Okay, so I've got my templates folder. These other folders could be, all the classes that I teach, and then I would create all my assignments in the templates folder, and which I already have some here. And then what I would do is I just copy them into the folder that I want to use them. So it would be duplicate, select the folder year 7 French. Okay. So I've run into a limit for number of assignments. So I have to just remove one of these. Oops. And duplicate. There we go. Okay, so that template now is staying in here. I haven't changed anything about that assignment in this folder. But in the Year 7 folder now, that template will be available. And then I can edit this. And however I want to change it. Increase time limit a little bit, maybe. Oh, let me also show you the transcript option for here. So the audio and the video and also the writing report have a transcript. So if you turn this on to manual, you can do a grammar check. Let me change the grammar check to French. There's four languages: English, French, German, Spanish. Change to French. Submission received. Okay, and then when I submit the assignment now. Joe, could you help me out with this? Could you describe the body in French?
Yeah. So
ready?
Well, I don't know what spleen is in French, but things like brain is le cerveau, and then wow.
Okay, I'm going to click on the door now. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Le cerveau. Hang on. Les reins, kidneys. La skeleton, l'estomac. Yeah, wow, talk about putting me on the spot. Jeez.
sorry, Joe. Sorry.
Oh dear.
I did put you on the spot.
That's fine.
I think we did pretty well there. Okay, yeah. If we listen back to that.
Okay, le cerveau. Hang on.
Okay, so I'm going to give a second chance to record this again. So can we just say the brain, the lungs, and the spleen in French? Would that be good? Okay.
Oh, I don't know spleen. Let's go for kidneys.
Oh, you didn't know spleen. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Right, brain, lungs, and kidneys. Okay, so we'll record again. Okay, ready? Okay, go.
Le cerveau, les poumons, et les reins.
Okay, there we go. Now you see I have a transcript section here. So I cannot submit my recording until I actually transcribe. So I'm self-transcribing the audio, and this requires students to process the language a second time, in writing as well as in speaking. So this activity in itself, I think, has pedagogical value. And if I make a mistake in my spelling, it should go.
Le cerveau. Les poumons.
Les poumons.
Et les reins.
Have I spelled those correctly?
So rein is R-E-I-N-S.
Okay, so I'll leave that as it is, and hopefully that will be flagged as a mistake.
And poumon should be plural, les poumons.
Okay.
L-E-S.
L-E-S. Okay. I wonder if it will pick that up. I'll leave that as well.
Yeah.
It might not pick it up because there's a limited range of errors it detects, and we'll see if it picks it up.
That's fine.
So, all right. Yeah, and if I go into my submission, what was it, Year 7, I think. It looks like it did. Le poumon ne semblant pas bien encode en nombre. Is that telling me that it should be less?
Yeah, so it's saying the le and the le with poumon doesn't seem to be correctly accordé. How do you say that? Agreeing. Yeah, it doesn't. So it's saying it's not agreeing. So it's flagging it up as a mistake. Yeah, there's no agreement. Thank you, Helen.
Yeah.
There's no. Yeah.
So one issue with this, perhaps a potential issue, is that the feedback is given in French. So again, we had the same issue with the kind of the dictionary definitions. I mean, year 7 probably would definitely not understand this feedback, would they?
No.
But hopefully a slightly more advanced learner A level would be able to understand this feedback.
I'd have thought so. I'd have thought. I think. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I think there's a number of different phrases that will then come up. So I think that students will get used to the language, or you can make some sort of rubric to explain for ne semble pas bien accordé, for example. You could have like a cheat sheet of those different definitions. But I think after a while, the students, the more able ones, or the ones that have been doing language for longer, would be able to cope with the definitions in French, I think. But feel free to write in the chat if you disagree. We had another interesting question a moment ago as well. Would you be able to add another software, or is it included when typing for those like me who use dictation due to disabilities?
Good question. When you said typing, you mean in what situation would you be typing?
I would imagine if you use your voice, if you're using, say, Dragon Dictation to use your voice to type in the text, would that work? Presumably that is, you're just inputting text. Or if you're using the voice dictation on an iPad to input, that would be fine, wouldn't it? You're just inputting text. So if you had some sort of voice dictation, I think that's, I presume that is Jessica, is that what you mean? Can you clarify? Filling in the gaps.
Filling in the gaps. Yeah, on an iPhone, you can just use the dictate function on the keyboard. That would transcribe it to text.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why students couldn't do that. On the computer, you'd have to have your own plugin. But yeah, I mean, anything that works with your browser, generally should work with this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it looks like it's picked up a couple of other errors as well, which is good. So
yeah,
these
so cerveau, it should be, that's misspelt, cerveau.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's probably the issue. If it was CERVEAU, cerveau, then it would probably be seen as correct.
Let me just go back to my other account 1 second. So in order to give feedback to students, you do need to have a premium account. That does a premium feature. Let me just show you how that would work. And I'll demonstrate this with the writing activity. That's the last one I wanted to show people.
That's fine. Perfect.
Oops. It's like I copied the whole page.
Yeah, you just want a bit of text, don't you?
1 second. My computer's started running a little bit slowly.
I don't know that one. Chrome language tool, is it? Is it good?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm using on the back end. So this integrates language tool.
Okay.
So I just wanted to grab the text that it uses to demonstrate the kind of errors that are detected. So let me submit that. Okay, so I'm gonna switch on email now, so I can show you the feedback function. So I go to my account. I click on require student email, click save. And now when students submit a report, they have to input their email address. So let me go back to that example. And you can see when I navigated away from this page, and I hadn't submitted it yet, it actually saved my text. So sometimes students accidentally, navigate away from the page, and then they lose all their work. So that doesn't happen with Teacher Tools Digital. It'll actually save their progress, so when they come back, it's still there. Let me click on continue and now submit. Now it asks me to put in my email address. So I'm going to put Paul. Click OK. And it's processing the mistakes, and then we see it's picked up all of these mistakes that were made in the text. So now if I want to give feedback on this, let me show you how to do that. I go to the folder it's contained in. And I go to written report, click view. Now here I have an option to send feedback. So if you have required the student email, you get this option to send feedback. I click on send feedback. And the text is here again. Now what I can do is I can add other comments on here. So okay, that's been added there. I can remove mistakes that were detected, but I don't want to have that correction. So perhaps this one I don't need. And I can also add comments. Click on save. It's not actually a drafting. I mean, Google Docs is way more advanced than this. Let me just say. So I mean, you know, Google Docs. Yeah, you can share a document with students. I mean, they can view your corrections. They can correct their corrections in the same document. That doesn't do this. This just allows you to add annotations to a text and then email them your comments. Yeah. So if you want more advanced than that, then yeah, probably Google Docs is going to be a better option. Yes, I actually do. I am trying to collect some comments for feedback. I do have a list somewhere that I was intending to put in there. This might be it. Yeah, I do have a list of comments that I was hoping to add. It's on the to-do list. This is kind of a draft document. But you know, what kind of comments would people find useful? Some of these are a little strange. But yeah, I'm hoping to have a comment bank, so that you can just select from the list the appropriate comment. So once I've saved this, then I can send feedback to the student. Let me click on that. Just going to stop sharing for 1 second. Where is the thing?
There we are. Well done.
Yeah. Sorry, bear with me for 1 second. Okay, I can share again now. So where's it gone? There. Right, so I'm looking in my inbox now, and I can see I've received 2 emails. The first one was an actual receipt of the submission. So this is a useful feature. Again, if you require a student email, it will send a receipt. Your submission was received, and it will actually include the text of what was submitted. So the student has their own copy of this in their inbox. If they come to you later and say, you know, I submitted that report, then you can say, okay, please show me your receipt. And then, you know, it's kind of a foolproof way of guaranteeing that they actually submitted the report. And then the other one is the feedback. So that's also there. I can see the number connects to the mistake number here. And then I can see the comments at the end. So this is a good way. If you can't give feedback to students in person, which we can't do right now, or even if when we go back to face-to-face teaching, you can use the email function. I teach at university age 18 and over, so I'm guessing that you wouldn't be able to email students from year 7 to year 12. Would that be correct?
Yeah, it's a really good question. What do people think in the chat? I'd have thought if you're in, say, a Google environment or in a Microsoft environment when everyone's using the same domain, that would be okay to email, as you do with, say, notifications in Google Classroom. The students can have their email addresses and in that way. What do people think in the chat? Yeah, okay, so Bella's saying they can. I know Laura's saying you can use the school email. Yeah, so I think that would be okay as long as it was in the domain, the school domain that you're using. So you wouldn't use any old email address. You'd have to use the registered school domain email address.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. So yeah, that's the option for giving feedback to students.
Okay.
But again, people who are familiar with Google Docs, I mean, Google just do things that mere mortals cannot hope to do. All of that, so when you type in a Google Doc, it's saved as you type, and the feedback a document can be shared between multiple parties, and so I can't compete with that functionality. So the feedback is going to stay probably quite basic, and it's just so you can give comments and corrections on the transcript or the text. That's what it does basically. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think we're probably coming to the time of wrapping up, Paul. Was there anything else you wanted to show us?
I have covered all the assignment types, which
Amazing.
I'm quite happy with. And most of the functionality I wanted to cover. Let me think. You can upload files. I think I covered that. You can make folders. You can share assignments with other teachers. You can choose from a bank of assignments that have been pre-made. Yeah, I think I pretty much covered. So if we have a couple of minutes for Q&A, that would be
absolutely. Well, I think we've covered all the questions so far. Does anyone have any other questions they'd like to ask Paul? Now is your opportunity. And obviously this is being recorded, so you can then watch it back. I think it's been an incredibly useful session, and thank you ever so much to everybody in the chat for asking some really good questions. And as you can see, Paul is very, very amenable to changing things to suit everyone's different context. So that's absolutely wonderful as well. I think it's absolutely brilliant what you produced, Paul.
Thank you.
Genuinely, I think it's absolutely brilliant, which is why I asked you to do the Tilt webinar. It's brilliant. Thank you. Fantastic. So lovely comment from Helen. Truly inspiring. That's great. I agree. Fantastic.
Good.
Fantastic. Yeah. So do spread the word. I mean, I think not enough people at the moment know about this tool. So certainly from the MFL teachers in the UK, I think it'd be really fantastic to use the tool, to share how you're using it via the MFL Twitterati hashtag or on Facebook groups, and then we'll get more people, raising awareness about the power of this tool. Because I think particularly for GCSE, that's what really made me think, and A-level, I think this would be a very useful tool. Using the free version as well as using the premium feedback, etc., which I think is definitely worth paying for as well. So thank you ever so much for anyone coming along to this. And I know that Paul, you've given your contact details, but can you just remind everyone of your Twitter handle in the chat so we can then tag you in our messages? And I'm sure you'd be very happy to receive any feedback via Twitter, or if you have any burning questions, feel free to direct message Paul as well, anything you're not sure about how the site runs. But I think obviously one of the burning issues was around where the recordings are saved. So I think that's definitely something that needs to be looked at. But I think that, it's absolutely wonderful what you produced, Paul. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, so without further ado then, we are still recording, but obviously the time is cracking on. If we all want to turn on our webcams and reveal ourselves, as it were. And if you would like to say anything using the microphone as well, we will take a screenshot, because I know that's very important to Helen, as well as myself, obviously, to make sure that we have a record of everybody here. That's lovely. So I will open up, I'll probably do it in PowerPoint, actually. I find that's very useful. If I go to PowerPoint, there we are. There we are. Let's open up now. There we are. Okay, blank presentation. And then I can do a screenshot and get, right, okay. So I will turn on my video indeed. There we are. So are we all ready? Let's see how many, we've still got 20 people in the room. That's probably, yeah, so it's only the one screen. So after 3, if everyone smiles.
Joe, would you like us to clap?
Of course, let's do that first. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So first of all, we need to give Paul a round of applause. 1, 2, 3, go. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And then while you're doing that, I'll take a screen. We'll do a screenshot with clapping, without clapping. Is that okay? Right. So right. So with clapping, 1, 2, 3, clapping. Awesome. I will now paste that into here. Hey, amazing. And then without clapping, just big smiles. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Right. And right, sorted. All done. Oh, right. Let me stop recording now. And that was amazing. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.